A second person involved in pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University has been arrested by U.S. immigration authorities after overstaying a student visa, federal officials announced on Friday. This development marks another significant escalation in the ongoing crisis at the Ivy League institution, which has been at the center of national debates regarding free speech, student activism, and anti-Semitism. Arrest and background details. The arrested individual, identified as Likha Cordia, is a Palestinian from the West Bank. She was taken into custody in Newark on Thursday, according to officials. Her student visa was reportedly terminated in January 2022, and she had previously been arrested by New York City police in April last year for her role in campus demonstrations. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, released this information in a formal statement. Additionally, DHS shared a video on Friday showing another Columbia student, Ranjani Srinivasan, allegedly attempting to enter Canada after her student visa was revoked. The video, circulated by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, reinforced the Trump administration's increased scrutiny of Columbia University, where protests over the war in Gaza last year spurred a national conversation on student activism and campus policies. Federal crackdown and escalating tensions. The arrest of Cordia follows the detention of Mahmoud Khalil, a recent Columbia graduate and a prominent figure in pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus. His arrest by federal immigration authorities last weekend has intensified tensions at Columbia, with protests erupting in response. On Friday, more than 200 students gathered outside Columbia's main gates to condemn the university's handling of Khalil's arrest. Many protesters wore keffiyehs, waved Palestinian flags, and held banners with slogans such as "Free Mahmoud," "ICE, off our campuses," and "Columbia, you can't hide." The protests followed a controversial search operation on Thursday night, during which federal Homeland Security agents entered Columbia's campus with warrants and searched 2 dormitory rooms. While no arrests or confiscations were made during the operation, the incident has deepened concerns about government overreach on college campuses. Federal pressure on Columbia University. The Trump administration has ramped up its pressure on Columbia, demanding sweeping reforms in student discipline and admissions policies. On Thursday, federal officials issued a letter threatening to withhold $400 million in government grants and contracts unless Columbia complied with their demands. According to the letter, Columbia must clearly define and enforce policies against anti-Semitism, ban masks intended to conceal identity or intimidate others during protests, place the Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African Studies Department under academic receivership. Federal officials justified these demands by citing Columbia's alleged failure to protect Jewish students from harassment. A joint statement from 3 government agencies accused the university of fundamentally failing to protect American students and faculty from anti-Semitic violence and harassment. Free speech advocates push back. The administration's demands have drawn strong backlash from civil liberties groups, who argue that these measures could severely restrict free speech and academic freedom at Columbia and beyond. Tyler Coward, lead counsel for the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, condemned the federal intervention, calling the letter a blueprint to supercharge censorship at America's colleges and universities. Colleges across the country are likely reading this letter this morning and thinking they'd better censor speech, or they're next, Coward warned. Columbia University has responded cautiously, with a university spokeswoman stating Thursday that officials are reviewing the letter. She emphasized the school's commitment to its educational mission and its dedication to combating all forms of discrimination on campus. University leaderships. Response Interim Columbia President Katrina Armstrong addressed the student body on Thursday evening, expressing deep concern over recent events. She assured students and faculty that the university is making every effort to safeguard their well-being. We are heartbroken over these developments and are committed to ensuring that Columbia remains a safe space for learning and dialogue, Armstrong wrote in a campus-wide email. However, the administration's response has not been enough to quell rising frustrations among students. Following the dorm searches, student activists have intensified their calls for the university to resist federal pressures and stand by its student body. Disciplinary actions and campus crackdown. Columbia announced a series of disciplinary actions against students who had occupied a campus building last spring as part of their protest efforts. The punishments, ranging from temporary degree revocations to permanent expulsions, align with some of the measures the Trump administration had urged in its letter. While the exact number of affected students remains unclear, the university confirmed that some students had received multi-year suspensions, temporary degree revocations, and expulsions. Among those expelled was Grant Minor, a Jewish doctoral student in Columbia's English and Comparative Literature department, who had been an active member of the movement advocating for the university's divestment from companies with ties to Israel. Minor decried the decision as an egregious attempt to break the union and squash the movement against genocide in Palestine. "We will not be intimidated on either front," Minor said in a statement, vowing to continue advocating for Palestinian rights and academic freedom. Broader implications and national repercussions. The ongoing turmoil at Columbia reflects a broader, nationwide struggle over the boundaries of free speech, student activism, and government intervention in university affairs. As Columbia navigates these challenges, other universities are closely watching, aware that similar crackdowns could be on the horizon for institutions hosting controversial protests. The Trump administration's aggressive stance on campus activism has sparked alarm among educators, legal experts, and civil rights organizations. The enforcement actions at Columbia may serve as a precedent for how federal agencies handle student protests and visa violations in the future. Meanwhile, student organizers at Columbia vow to continue their activism despite mounting legal and institutional pressures. "This isn't just about Columbia," said one protest leader. "This is about every student in America who believes in free speech, in justice, and in the right to stand up for what's right." As the situation continues to unfold, Columbia remains at the epicenter of a national debate that is far from over. Whether the university will bow to federal demands or push back against governmental overreach remains a pivotal question in the weeks ahead.